everyone, I hope you're doing fine. I haven't posted a video in a while because I've been busy, but I decided since I finished the Howl's Moving Castle book by Diana Jones that I'll do a review. So I'm going to be comparing Diana Jones' book Howl's Moving Castle with Miyazaki's Howl's Moving Castle movie. One thing I want to say though is that I find it kind of wrong to compare the two, considering that they're both kind of different stories. Miyazaki does follow the same path, almost the basic path, as Diana Jones does in her book, but he leaves out characters, he adds some things, and changes a lot of things, especially Howl's and Sophie's character. So let me summarize the book first. You have Sophie
had her. Her father had died. Well, they do a little backstory about her father. He had remarried. Sophie already had a sister from the previous mother. Then the father married and he had another daughter called Martha. In the movie, you know that Sophie has a sister, not two sisters. When the father dies, the stepmother decides that she can't support all three of them in the shop, so she sends the youngest sisters to work somewhere else, or to be somewhere else to get a job. One daughter goes to the bakery, which is only seen in Ghibli, and the other one goes to be an apprentice to a witch, who's a good witch, and now she knows the stepmother. Sophie, this whole time, believes she's destined to fail, because in her world, the firstborn is destined to not having a fortune. One point, she's walking to see her sister in the bakery, like we see in the movie, and she comes across a young man with fair hair and all that, who's asking her out for a drink. She says no, and then he says, oh, do you want me to walk you over to your sister's, because that's where she's heading, and she says no, walks away, blah, blah. Things happen, fast forward to where she's in the shop, and the witch puts a curse on her. Instead of black blobs like in the Ghibli film,
the henchmen are actually people-looking people. Yeah. So she has a curse on her. She goes to waste, she comes across the castle, but instead of the castle easily accepting her, she's having a really hard time
compared to the movie. At one point she was able to go through one of the doors. She comes across Michael, who isn't a little boy like in the movie. He's a 15-year-old. And he's kind of doesn't want to let her in, but he lets her in and then she sleeps there. Next day, Howl shows up, and he doesn't really question her. I mean, he does. He's like, who are you? And then she says, I'm going to be your maid, basically, house cleaner. And at this point, she did the same thing in the movie. She made a contract with Calcifer to help break the curse. Whatever.
So Howl kind of doesn't say to her that she could stay or not stay. In the movie, he kind of says stuff to her and even recognizes that she's under a curse, but in the book, he doesn't say anything about the curse or mention anything at all. So she kind of stays. There's more to the book about Howl's background life. Lots of things happen. I'm trying to summarize it in my head, but there's a lot about Howl's life. He's from Wales. The black portal that you see in the movie isn't actually leading to war and all these weird flying things. It's actually to his hometown in Wales. In the book, I'm just going to basically talk about the book and all that stuff. Forget about summarizing. Basically, in the book, you can't really see Howl and Sophie romantically like each other, obvious. Like in the movie, you kind of tell that they like each other, but then in the book, it's not really that. They're more the bickering couple type in the book. In the movie, it's more romanticized. The major difference between the book and the movie is that the personalities of Howl and Sophie in the book are way different from the Howl and Sophie in the movie. Howl and Sophie in the movie, I think if you watch the movie, you could tell you kind of get a gentle, kinder, noble feel from Howl and Sophie. The way they talk, the way they act, the graceful movements. That is the type of Sophie and Howl you see in the movie. However, the Sophie and Howl in the book, very different. More attitude. Howl, at one point in the movie, you do see his tantrum. In the book and the movie, the tantrum is the same. But throughout the book, he is a brat and a slither outer, according to Sophie. He gets out of anything, he's a coward, he's a childish person, he needs lots of attention. In the movie, not so much. Howl did make that tantrum about his hair, but that tantrum was a lot more in the book. And he's also a bit
annoyed with Sophie. Not annoyed, he wants her out of there, but they bicker a lot, and he kind of always calls her nosy, and this, that, and the other, and keep all his business, and always points out how she has to clean up all the time.
Sophie, on the other hand, is not as kind as Sophie in the movie. Sophie in the book, you probably feel that she genuinely hates Howl sometimes, or she doesn't like him and will never end up liking him. Like, I was in the last chapter of the book and I felt like there's only 20 pages left. Is anything gonna happen? Because I don't feel like anything's gonna happen. Like, I felt towards the end Howl was showing that he cared for her, but I didn't feel so much about Sophie. Like, a little bit, but not so much. I was like, are you actually gonna get together in these 20 pages? So yeah, Sophie has more attitude in the book. She's more about, like, I'm not gonna take Howl's crybabying. In the movie, for the tantrum, Sophie did react, like, dramatically, emotionally. Not dramatically, but she was emotional when he was crying about his looks and all. She's like, oh, I've never been beautiful my whole life. But in the book, Sophie just leaves with Michael and is like, let's come back when he's done with his tantrum, and is tossing him in the bath. That's her type of attitude. She's more like embracing her old person personality, if that makes sense. So now let me bring up the notes that I made of the major differences between the book and the movie. As I mentioned, Sophie and Howl's character is the major difference between the book and the movie. It gives it a different feel. They weren't that obvious in love like in the movie. It was more developed through bickering and arguing. Even Diana Jones said in an interview that Miyazaki makes the characters more noble and gentle. Sophie's backstory is said or noticed in... Oh, let me raise music here. Sophie's backstory is spoken about in the book, obviously not in the movie so much. Sophie has two sisters in the book. One likes magic. Sophie meets Howl, not any other man, on May Day on her way to see her sister, like I mentioned. The fair-haired man was Howl. She did not come across any soldiers like in the movie. The sisters in the book switched places because one liked magic, the other didn't. The witch's henchmen are actually people looking. Sophie is scared of the Scarecrow. Oh yeah, that was one thing that kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting that for her to be scared of the Scarecrow. In the book, she helps the Scarecrow get out from between the rocks. But then is when the Scarecrow starts chasing her in certain parts of the book, she's like scared of him. Like at one point when she was alone in the castle with Calcifer and the Scarecrow was trying to get in the castle, she told Calcifer to speed up and try to get rid of the Scarecrow. In the movie, right hand, there's like their friends. She calls him Turnip Head.
Another major difference I'd like to point out is mention of Howl's mentor. In the movie, his mentor was Wizard Solomon. However, in the book, Wizard Solomon is missing. Was never Howl's mentor. He did come from the same place Howl did, which was Wales. But Solomon wasn't even a woman, he was a man. So that's one major difference there. Missing, a man, not Howl's mentor, not evil. Prince Justin is also missing too. But there's a whole different thing. Kind of. The Scarecrow in the movie is considered Prince Justin, and that's half true in the book. It's a lot to explain.
So yeah, Howl does not show he knows Sophie is under a curse till the end. Howl does not grow feathers in the book. Okay, yeah, this brings me to another point. In Ghibli's film, there's a war going on. In the book, there's a little hint of the king saying that he needs Howl's help to find the prince because the prince has all this military stuff in his mind. But there isn't really a war that Howl's going out to fight. Howl in the book is a flirt. He's a coward, a slither outer. He doesn't want to fight in these wars. He's kind of avoiding everything, and he's more preoccupied with the witch's curse on him. In the movie, the black portal leads to a whole war thing, and he's fighting, and there's bombs, and there's winged stuff. That's just Ghibli's touch to the movie. The part where Howl throws a tantrum because his hair color changed. In the book, he had fair hair, but then the thing that happened was he grew a few strands of ginger gold hair. That was one thing. In the movie, his became completely ginger and was changing colors. But in the end, I believe, if I understood correctly, in the book, his hair had become pink. And then later on, he dyes it because something happens where he goes to a funeral. In the movie, his hair becomes black at the end of it, so... Okay, the dog that follows Sophie around when she goes to visit the king in the movie... the wizard, whatever. When she goes to visit the castle in the movie, with the dog following her, that is not Solomon's dog. That is, in a sense, the witch's dog in the book, but not really. There's a whole thing. It's a dog that's under a curse. It's actually a man under a curse to me to look like a dog. Another thing way different from the movie and the book is that Sophie in the movie doesn't really have any magical powers. In the book, definitely she is a witch, but she doesn't know it until like towards the middle, the end. Some people say that in the movie it does show or hint that she has some magical powers because of the hat's success, etc. But really, it's not that much shown, so I don't know. It could be, could not be shown in the movie. It depends what you think. The witch's fate in the book is different from the movie. In the movie, she just loses her powers by Solomon and becomes an old woman. In the book, I hope I'm not spoiling it for anyone. I really don't want to say, but something else happens to the witch in the book. In the book, we actually meet the Witch of the Waste's fire demon. In the movie, it's just kind of mentioned, I think, but you don't see the fire demon. And in the book, Calcifer stays at the end even though he's freed from the curse. Sophie's hair color in the movie stayed silver. And she had to cut it for Calcifer to bring the castle back together. But the whole situation of castle falling apart and Sophie cutting off her braid to give to Calcifer never happened in the book. I hope I said that correctly. That part never happened in the book. In the book, her hair goes back to ginger. In the movie, her original hair color was brown, so that's another difference. In the book, it comes back to her color, her normal color. In the movie, it doesn't. For some reason. That was kind of weird. Like, she gets her young self back, but not her hair color, and I was like, oh. The stepmother in the book does not betray Sophie in a sense like the movie did. In the movie, she was probably threatened by the witch to go and say hi. But in the book, it was actually Howl, I think, that invited her family over so she feels more happy. Because in the book, sometimes she feels depressed because no one would probably recognize her. One thing that Diana Jones mentioned is how Miyazaki drew the castle. He drew legs and she never really imagined it like that. She imagined it more like a hovering type of castle. Those are just a couple differences. The book is beautifully written. I'm trying to get reviewer comments here. I think that you can't really compare the book to the movie in the sense of which one is better since they're both their own sort of different story. If you're more into knowing about Howl's backstory, Sophie's backstory, and more details and stuff, you probably enjoy the book more than the movie. I, on the other hand, I really like Howl's Moving Castle either way. I'm in love with Howl, so I like both of them in their own unique way. They both are unique in their own way, and I like them both. Although I think, personality-wise, I like the Howl in the book, because I think he's more dynamic, I think that's the word. The Howl movie's romantic and all, but I think the one in the book is more interesting. Like his sass and attitude, I think it's more fun. What type of music is this? Oh, okay, I was impressed by the book's way of explaining Howl's past. In the movie, I'm impressed by the fact that Miyazaki could just create his own story. I don't know how to put this, I'm really bad at this. What I liked in the book was Howl's personality, Sophie's personality. I kind of feel like maybe a little bit more hint at their growing relationship maybe would have helped. I didn't feel that. I feel like the ending was like, voila, we're together, we like each other. Yeah.
But the Howl in the book is much more interesting than the Howl in the movie. But they're both their own different people, so I don't know if I could compare. It's really hard to compare these, especially when it's like their own, yeah.
I'm really bad at saying what I didn't like, because I actually like things a lot. But, let me see, what I didn't like in the book. Okay, when I was first reading it, I was thinking to myself, I don't like this. This isn't going the way like the movie. What is going on? This is wrong. However, the book came first, so I was like, I should try giving it a chance. Because I was like trying to keep track of like, okay, this happened in the movie, this happened in the book, this is happening, blah blah blah. And then I started losing track. I'm like, wow, okay, this is totally different. They're their own stories. So I was kind of impressed by the fact that I could still like both book and movie, and that they could eat their own unique stuff. Yeah. So I give both the movie and the book 2 thumbs up. One thing I could say is, like, if you like movies, it really depends on the person. Some people don't like the book, and some people like the movie instead. Some people like the book, and some people don't like the movie. Some people like both, like me.
Have to realize that the movie and the book are totally different storylines. Basic path, same ending in a way, like who ends up with who, but totally different stories. Okay, so I don't think you should really compare, like, oh, I like the movie more than the book because of this. You can't, because the stories are different, so of course, maybe you just don't like the story there, but you know what I mean, okay.
If you're more of a moviegoer, stay with House and Castle. If you like the romantic Howl, stay with House and Castle movie. If you're more interested in seeing the development of Howl's personality and his background, where he came from, Sophie's background, as you know, the witch too, she has more background, a little bit, tiny bit, and there's more characters in the book than the movie. Of course, you know, Ghibli can't fit everything into the movie from the book, but I think they both did well. I think that's about it I could say. So if you can't try out the book, try it out at least. If you don't like books, then you probably won't like the book. But if you do like books, read the book. Don't listen to an audiobook. You'll get distracted, bored. Read it so you can take it in. My favorite part in the book, though, is when I think Howl went and got drunk or something, and he says he's Cone Soap Stober or something. Like, he stuttered. Like, Calcifer calls him a drunk, and he's like, I'm Cone Stove Sober or whatever. It's on my Tumblr title. But yeah, I just really like Howl's attitude. I think it's funny that he's so ridiculous. He's such a child. He's so bratty. But yeah. So, thank you for watching. I'm sorry it's so long. I talked a lot. The background music is from a playlist on YouTube. Yeah, I'll link that too. Check out my Redbubble, my Twitter, my Tumblr. Thank you.